What's up YouTube? It's Joshua Owens with B&B Leaders. In this video, I interview my client Bruno. Bruno lives in Las Vegas and launched a luxury 4-bedroom Airbnb in the Phoenix, Arizona area. He literally just got his biggest booking to date, 2 months, over $12,000. Let's get into it.
So originally I'm from California, and I've lived in Phoenix for probably about 17 years. I moved there in 2001. Then I moved to Vegas in 2018. So I'm currently a Vegas resident. I've been working in the telecommunications industry for the last 24 years. So, it's kind of what I've been doing as far as work goes, So I just got into the Airbnb space, like you said, 6 months ago. So.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's awesome, man. And what actually, so going from telecommunications into like real estate and Airbnb, what made you want to make the jump into vacation rentals?
Okay, so yeah, I own a few properties already, but they're long-term rentals. So in that, I kind of was thinking about the Airbnb space. I had a buddy that kind of gave me the idea, and I really wanted to kind of tap into that market and see if I can do something a little bit different with just the long-term stuff. And then maybe in the future, once my leases are done, then I can turn those also into the short-term rentals. So that's, kind of why I wanted to get in there, made a little bit of extra cash on the side, each month on top of my long-term stuff. But then also the travel piece of it. So there's definitely some opportunity to have properties all over and then travel at the same time, or house swap with other Airbnb hosts. So
yeah, no, that's awesome. The houses that you own today, are they, or the other houses that you already had, are they in the Phoenix area as well, or Vegas, or?
Yeah, so I have one in Las Vegas, and then I have one in on the northwest side of the Phoenix metro area. So my Airbnb is in the southeast of Phoenix. City of Phoenix.
Okay, that was dope, man. That's awesome. And then like traveling, I know you guys were just recently on a trip with the family, so stayed at some vacation rentals and Airbnbs and that whole deal. So
it's funny. So we booked the trip roughly around the same time I kind of started in the Airbnb space. So as you're kind of looking at different areas and kind of some of the amenities and just the details of certain aspects of that person's rental, why you chose that, and then once you get there, does it actually look like the listing, right? But we were in Hawaii and spent some time there, and I really liked the space. So we're currently in the process of trying to purchase one of those properties there in Hawaii. Hopefully it all works out, and that'll give us another opportunity for some passive income as well as some travel opportunities. So.
Yep, that's what it's about, man. So yeah, because I think with the long-term rentals, you'll clear a little bit, or you'll break even on your mortgage, your insurance, and things like that. But I think Airbnb, just renting it out like on a nightly basis, there's definitely more opportunity there, and specifically with the West Coast markets that you're in. Arizona's a hot market. You're looking at Hawaii. Hawaii is one of the best markets via AirDNA, and the numbers there. So yeah, you're in a great spot. So congrats there.
Appreciate it.
No, you're welcome. So I'll kind of dive into actually before even starting working together, man. So how was it actually pulling the trigger? Like how did you come across my page? How was it pulling the trigger and that whole piece of it?
The algorithm is crazy, right? So you look up one thing and then next thing you know, it just starts flooding. So as I was kind of scrolling through Instagram, kind of looking at different ideas of how I was going to get started, I wasn't hesitant to start. I just didn't know where to start. So, I was gathering ideas and, picked up a bunch of different websites that I can kind of look at, kind of like you said, the AirDNA stuff and just kind of figuring things out and watching other people's stories. And then when I came across your page, I was like, oh, he got some good content. Let me see if I can, just gather a few things. I was hoping I can probably, do it by myself. And so when you reached out, I was like, I had other people reach out, but I just didn't really pay on no mind, to be honest. I was just whatever, I'm going to try to figure this thing out. And that was like 4 or 5 months. And then finally, it hit me. And so I was like, well, let me just, a call wouldn't hurt. Let's see what he has. So I just, listened to it and it sounded like, yeah, I could do this, it's
Yeah.
easy. And there was a lot of gaps that I didn't know, even after, I joined, when we started the conversation, it was other things that I was like, oh man, I would have never thought of that. Or, I had no idea about this, situation or whatever. So
Yeah.
it definitely made me a lot more comfortable to just say, you know what, let's just do it and
Yeah.
see where it goes. So we're here.
Yep, we're here, man. So, well, I appreciate that, man. You've been awesome to work with. And then, so I guess like even run it all the way back to like, so what was it about my page specifically and the content? Because you did, I remember that conversation. You're like, hey, Josh, 3 or 4 other people reached out to me too, as far as like other mentors and coaches in the space and stuff like that. What was it specifically that kind of like, kind of pulled you into to B&B leaders and to my content?
It was the authenticity. I think just kind of telling your story of where you came from to where you're at now, right? Like it's difficult to leave a 6-figure income, 7-figure income, when you're in corporate America. Like I'm in that situation now, right? Obviously, I've been with the same company for over 20 years. So, I'm at the space where I'm like, man, can I do it? Once I get a fourth property, fifth property. So I think showing kind of where you started, what you stand for, and then where you're going, where you've been, where you're going. That made me feel a little bit more comfortable. Obviously, and then having the conversations, just to see you as a person, it definitely it's not gimmicky. So,
Yeah.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, I try to stay away from anything gimmicky. So you got to be authentic for sure. You know what I mean? Especially in like today in 2026. So I appreciate that. That definitely means a lot. So okay, so I guess before working together, like what was your biggest challenge, right? So you knew you're already in real estate, you own multiple properties, you have good, experience with customers, clients, working corporate professional, things like that. So was it just like a system? Was it just just a path to follow? Was it a strategy? Was it, what was it specifically? What would you say your biggest challenge was before working together?
Well, I didn't know what I didn't know,
Yeah.
right? So I think just the structure of, the documentations, how to structure your LLC, how to get the documentation for the arbitrage, right? And making sure that all your stuff legally is on point because like if I just show up and say, yo man, I want to rent the house and they say, yeah, absolutely. And I'm not, crossing my T's, dotting my I's because I don't know,
Yeah.
then it could be a disaster, man. So I think the first few calls as I started to kind of go through all the documentation, all your materials, your resources, I was like, oh, this is well thought out, well put, and obviously you could tell you've been doing it for a while, so it made me comfortable to say, yeah, this is legit. It's a legit business and it's a legit market to tap into, so it definitely made me feel comfortable with all that because like I said, I just didn't know what I didn't know. I just figured,
Yeah.
you could buy a house, which that takes a long time to save up the down payment, right, for a fourth property or
Yeah.
whatever, right,
Yeah.
and that could take some time, which I didn't want to wait. I didn't want to wait a few years and keep stacking, so that way I can buy another property because they're asking they're asking for a lot. So just kind of all the different resources and the structures and things that you set up is definitely helped me with the process.
Oh, for sure. No, thank you. And yeah, a lot of that too. I mean, most of my clients are first-time business owners, right? So structuring everything like correct from the beginning. I mean, it's so important. I didn't learn it till years later. You know what I mean? And so that's why I put it in the program at the beginning. So our process is legitimize, formalize, systemize, and scale, right? And if you follow that to a T, like you can be successful in this business. So try to make it as simple as possible for people. There's a lot of people's brains too that they just think that way. You know what I mean? Very systematic
Yeah.
approach. It needs to be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? It's not X, G, H, Y. Like no, it needs to be in order. So, cool, man. Okay. So I guess let's talk about obviously you legitimize your business. You got started. Business funding. We can talk about that part. You went through the business funding process. How was that working with our team and our partners?
It was simple. It was real simple. They got on the call. Dre was real transparent in who he was and what he does, and then he plugged me in with the rest of his team, and I provided the information, and within a week, we started to get approval letters and emails saying, things were moving in the right direction. It didn't really take that long. I want to say the process was maybe about 2 weeks.
Yeah. Like a
Yeah,
move
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was able to utilize those funds to kind of jumpstart, a different part of my real estate portfolio.
Yep. Absolutely. So that was smooth. So the company was smooth, the fundability was smooth. And then let's go into like the landlord part. So I remember we had a conversation, started building out your target list for different properties. We actually worked with Juan, who actually helped us with a few of the listings as well. Some of the STR approved, landlord approved properties, right? So I guess let's talk about that as far as like calling the landlords. I remember you said you had another cold call in a while. I was a little bit nervous, but I don't think it was too bad, was it? Tell me about
Yeah,
that
nah,
experience.
it's funny because I talk to customers all the time, right? So I have to, sometimes they might be irate. You never know which side of this, which side they're on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I never really have a problem doing that. But for whatever reason, maybe calling somebody and asking them, it's kind of like asking them for a favor, and you ain't talked to them in a long time, right? But it was kind of like something like that for me. But I think because I didn't really know, like, okay, how is this going to work, right? And if
Yeah.
people really want to do it. So talking to Juan, he's like, nah, this is easy, man. Just
Yeah.
here's all the information. All you literally have to do is just call them, tell them what you're doing. That's it. I had a whole spiel. I
Yeah.
try to rehearse it to not sound robotic. I wanted to be 100%, with the approach. And I made the first call, and I left the voicemail. Nobody answered. I made a second call, left another voicemail, made a third call, left a voicemail. The next day, the first call that I left the voicemail called me back and said, hey, when are you looking to move in? We started, we had literally a 15-minute conversation. He's like, I'll send you the lease agreement over, if you want to do it. And I said, yeah, absolutely. So, we kind of started that process, and it was easy. And within a week, I was already keys in hand, driving to Phoenix and
Yeah.
looking at the property and setting everything up.
Yeah. So easy, man. So literally three landlord calls, phone calls. That's it to secure
Yeah,
your first deal.
that's it. That's it.
That's insane. So and then you have the script and everything too. But I mean, most landlords are cool. I think people get stuck and kind of like strung up on this part. Oh, this is gonna be hard. What if they say this? What if they say that? I mean, I always try to tell people it's just. I mean, they're just regular people. They want their places leased out too. They just want to make sure that you're gonna take care of the place. It's gonna be in good hands and pay the bills on time and things like that. So
Yeah, I think the terminology definitely helped, as far as like knowing what to say. I didn't have a rebuttal, so I was grateful for that. Not that I've never had rebuttals in my life, right?
yeah,
But for this particular situation, it was, having the script and said, hey, the corporate housing stuff, like you said, the insurance, you're backed by all this coverage as far as insurance goes, all that stuff. The rent's gonna be paid on time, and it just, guy was like super happy for, yeah, man, just when you want to come see it, so he definitely was bought in, and he's been a good landlord, ever since.
yeah. I was gonna ask about that too because he's a developer, right? and builder, and so he has a bunch of different projects and things like that. So
Oh yeah, yeah. I was fortunate enough because he's actually owns a contracting company.
okay.
So if something was going on with the house, which it far and few, I
Hmm.
just ask him and he'll send someone same day, so I don't have to pay somebody else to come and fix whatever
Right.
that that's broken or small minor things. The guy's just been awesome with any of my requests, and he takes care of the yard too. So I mean, the yard looks immaculate. So yeah, I like I said, I was super fortunate for this particular situation.
Yeah, no, that's dope. Yeah, and continue to build with him too. He may have other houses or projects and things like that come down the line in a year or two. And that's I always tell people that's the best way to scale. Get a couple really solid, good landlord relationships, and they'll keep growing their portfolio too. So, if you do a good job with one, they'll say, "Oh man, we don't have any issues over there. Everything's smooth. You're paying on time. Guests are great. All of that," and then they'll just keep offering you more properties.
Right.
So, yeah, just the relationship building there. I think that's key. So. Man, cool, awesome. Okay, so you get the lease. You literally make 3 phone calls, you get a yes, lock in, get a hand or keys in hand in the first week, and then talk to me about what you did next. What were the next steps after that?
It was shopping time, right? We had to kind of check out some different areas in the city that kind of offers some really good deals. Looked at inspiration on how we wanted to build out or to design the home, the inside of the home. So you had sent me, your catalog in its early stages, and I was looking at that stuff and just kind of having,
Yeah,
yeah, the design guy.
yeah, design guy. Yeah.
Yeah, so I had an idea, and so me and my buddy, he also does real estate, but he does rental flips, right? So he'll purchase a house, renovate it, and then flip it. So I said, hey man, let's come out here and let's see if you can help me, with all the heavy lifting and whatnot. And he he didn't tell me when we got to the house. He was like, I'm not much of a designer, man. That's my wife. And I'm like, well, you should have brought your wife, man. Yeah.
Right.
But she had to work, so I just I had my wife was already coming into town later on to kind of help me. So we failed miserably at trying to figure out like what to put in the house. I got a few pieces here and there that she was able to work with, but when she came in, she had a conversation with you, for 20 minutes on one of our calls, looked at the design guide, and then I think she got there Wednesday. So from Wednesday to Sunday, we literally were just at different stores, picking up different small pieces that kind of allowed the design to flow perfectly,
Yeah.
with the space that we had. And so it worked out. I sent you the video of the
Yeah.
first guest reaction when they walked in. They were just like, wow, man, they didn't think, obviously they see a male as a host, so they probably assume
Yeah.
it's not, but I had to let them know I don't take no credit for that. That was all her, my wife. So, but yeah, I mean, we went shopping, we got our stuff, set it all up. We were super excited. Make sure we got the utilities set up. Definitely you have to have the internet, all that stuff squared away. Everything else I had got it done before, and we walked away that weekend, drove back to Vegas with a finished product, man, that we were super proud of, and within I think 2 days of listing,
Yeah.
we had our first weekend booking. Matter of fact, I think I was on the call with you when
Yeah.
it came
Yeah.
in.
Yep. Was it the girls that booked in, or
Yep,
they
yep.
had a concert or something like
They
that?
were going to a concert, yeah, right down the street, downtown Phoenix.
Yep.
So they came in and man, I mean, they were great hosts or great guests, and they enjoyed the house. I think there was three or four females. My first guest, so they asked, hey, can we come check in early?
Yeah.
I said, yeah, absolutely. I wanted them to kind of have a full experience, and so they came in and they had a time of their life at the concert, and we set up like a goodie basket for them to enjoy
Yeah.
some drinks and whatnot, so that way we just wanted to welcome them with open arms and our new adventure, so.
That's awesome. Yeah, congrats on that. Yeah, I remember that when they booked in and we're there for the show and yeah, I mean you told me their faces when they came in like the ring camera.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh wow, like so yeah, shout out to your wife too. She did an amazing job like designing the
yeah,
place. You guys got it knocked out quick like a week. So, and that's a
yeah.
four bedroom home, right?
4 bedroom, yep.
Okay. Four
Yeah,
bedroom, massive
1,700 square
backyard.
feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, huge backyard. So
Yeah. So okay, cool, man. And then oh yeah, and then also too, you found a photographer, right? You found a real estate photographer out there in the Phoenix area, like kind of when you were finishing up the project.
yep, yep. Right before we left, we wanted them to come in the day before we left, so make sure it's all buttoned up and I could just put it up and launch it. And yeah, I just Googled, real estate photographers, sent an email, they responded, and it was quick. I mean, the guy did a phenomenal job setting up the house, and yeah, he definitely like loved the design. So he's like, man, this thing's gonna photograph well. And sometimes like, I look at those pictures, and I'm like, man, like this, it looks like something from a magazine,
Right.
So he did a really, really good job.
Yep. Yeah, that's insane. That's amazing. Yeah, the photos look great, and that's your marketing, right? So I always emphasize and tell people like you need to get professional photos. You need a real estate photographer specifically. They know what they're doing. They know the angles. They know the spatial shots. The
Yep.
head-on shots with the beds and things like that. So definitely invest in that. And yeah, you did a great job. And I think that as a result of that, the property's been booking up and things like that. So. Okay, so Bruno, how was it hosting your first guest and actually getting your first payout and your first five-star review?
And it felt good, just because you you don't really understand the blood, sweat, and tears that kind of go into, the calling and then signing the lease and traveling to another state or another city,
Yeah.
picking up furniture, throwing it in the back of the truck, or having them deliver, right? Understanding kind of how you want to set everything up, and taking the time to really, really focus on what it is that you want to accomplish in the Airbnb space, and then to have the first guest walk in with the reaction that they had, like it was super cool, man. And then a few days later, you get the payout, and you're like, oh man, that obviously there was a lot of time and effort put into it, but you just kind of look at that first payout, like, man, I could do this. If I could do this, tenfold over, like
Yeah.
it's makes life a lot easier because you get your first one, and you get your second, third, fourth, and you just keep building that way. And I wouldn't say it was easy, but it was easy as far as like getting that. Once you get that pair, like, oh man, this was easy. Obviously as you're going through it, you're like really, really focused on kind of what you're doing, but
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, it is, and then you just see like the compound effect too. So you get that second unit, the third unit, the payouts just increase, they compound, and yeah, it's special. And then it's the guest experience too. I mean, I always tell people to focus on that. Don't never forget the hospitality aspect of it, right? That's
yeah,
kind of
for
what's
sure.
behind it all. So doing that, I mean, the guests leave you a good review, you leave them a review, you can kind of see what they left you, and that's fun. You can respond to it too. So. Yeah, definitely worth it. We have another client, Chris, that you actually know, that's in the Dallas Fort Worth area. I think he just did his first. He got his first like $5,000 month in December, and so he
Nice.
was showing me that yesterday. Of course, two-bedroom place there, and I'm like, man, it's like yeah, it's the easiest money, easiest $5,000 I've ever made.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
it is, it's a process, right? Especially setting up and building a business and all that. But once it's done, like, it's easy. So.
Yeah.
Okay. So how does it feel that everything is streamlined and your business can run like literally without you? Because you're running this thing remote, right?
Yeah. I'm definitely not in the state. I'm familiar with the area, so it's kind of a blessing that I know the area because I lived there for a while. But yeah, I remember. I don't know if you remember, but we left to Hawaii on my third booking, and I was like, "Yo, man, who's gonna watch?" Like, and then you were like, "Hey, man, like it's the same as the other two. Just relax. Answer questions, do what you have to do. But for the most part, like if you have the proper processes in place, the
Yeah.
guests really don't bother. They just enjoy their time, and that's it. Like they check in, make sure that that's smooth, communicate with them, throughout their stay, and then thank them for their time after the fact when they check out, and that's about it. I mean, the gentleman was in, him and his family were in there for 2 weeks, and my first week I was on vacation. They checked in the same day I checked in. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it was a little nerve wracking because I want to make sure that I caught every message and make sure that if they need anything, I can accommodate. But it
Yeah.
was it was smooth. I didn't really hear from them until after they checked out. Said everything was good, and that was that.
Yeah, no, that's the best. Yeah, when you can run properties pretty much all over the country, you're traveling, you're on a plane. Is any Airbnb issues, any
Yeah,
messages, it's all smooth. I always say
yeah,
no news is good news for the most part.
yeah. And the beautiful thing is, like I said, if you set everything up, everything's automated, for the most part. So you don't really have to worry about it too much. It does what it's supposed to do because you set it up
Yeah.
beforehand, right? So as you're going through it and people are booking and whatever, it's all automated. It's super easy.
Yeah, no, 100%. And let's talk about that too. Like as far as the automations, 'cause you do have a local team there in Phoenix, right? Kind of a handyman, somebody to kind of go by if there's any issues with the light bulbs or thing, tighten up things, stuff like that. And also a housekeeping team. How was it kind of bringing on your team members and kind of training them up and working through Turno and in that software?
It was good. I had so I have two cleaners. Actually, I think I have four total as a backup. Two backup, two full time. And so on the two full time, there's a checklist. You just tell them, hey, this is what I need you to check. You communicate with them. You make sure that any question they have, you can answer. And then for the most part, once they get like one or two of those cleanings done, they already know kind of what your expectations are, and then they just replicate it every single time that they need to clean. So I brought in a second full-time cleaner, and they've been amazing. I mean, they show up, on time. They communicate anything that's going on, with any linens, inventory, any of those things. They say, hey, this is what you need, and then I usually order it and send it in. While they're there cleaning, I try to time it, or if not, I have one of my tenants in on the other side of town. I'll send something to her house and then have her deliver it. So with having a team, that way it makes it a lot smoother. It's almost kind of like, you're running a business because you have, your vendors, which should be your team, and as long as you take care of them, they take care of you. So.
Yeah, exactly. Make your life super easy.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Not having to worry about scrambling around or I gotta get this stuff delivered or anything like that. So, okay. Cool, man. And then let's talk about bookings, right? Because that's really what I want to bring you on here too. Because you literally just got your biggest booking so far. I think it came maybe in like December. So can you
Yep.
talk
Yep.
about your booking and kind of the guests and stuff like that? Yeah, I saw that. I was like, wow. When you sent me that
Yeah.
message, I was like,
Yeah.
man.
So,
So,
so, um, I'll take it back to the beginning. So, we talked once I put it on Airbnb, 2 days later, I got that first weekend booking, right? And I think since that was early September, I put it on September 1st, I believe. And I've been booked every weekend since,
yeah.
except one weekend, and I had it booked, but then they canceled. But if that wasn't the case, I would be booked every weekend. So come December, I think I want to say it was like December 5th, I got a booking, and it was from, they checked in on Saturday the 3rd, January 3rd, and they're not leaving till March 3rd. So, yeah, man, it's,
Yeah.
2 months and a few days. So that kind of makes, it easier too, because you just sit back and just hope that nothing goes wrong. That's about it. Hopefully, I don't forget how to run it after they
After
after
they
they
check
leave,
out.
because yeah, it's been so long. It'll be so long. But yeah, I mean that was a pretty good chunk, and I had people back to back to back to back from all the holidays, from the Thanksgiving all the way every single weekend. Then I had some during the week stays for Christmas and New Year, and so people got to enjoy their families, and make memories there during the holidays. So it's a large enough space for families to congregate, celebrate, and just have a good time, man. So I'm grateful to be a part of that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, to be able to just share the space and create a beautiful space, share it, and put up their Christmas tree. They can bring the family together, do Thanksgiving dinner. You may ask, "Hey, is the kitchen stocked up?" We're making this or whatnot. But it is super dope to see, their experience and kind of bring everybody together. So, well, congratulations on that 2 month booking. That's huge. It takes a little bit of weight off of you too, as far as like kind of worrying about, am I going to get booked? The booking's going to come.
Right.
And talk about that too, because man, people do. There's new hosts. They get nervous sometimes. They launch the property. They don't know if they're always going to get booked. And we actually put in our pricing strategy in Price Labs, right? And then we make our weekly tweaks and things like that. So talk about that. Just kind of fear of the unknown and how it's worked out and so far.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you could probably remember some conversation. I'm like, oh man, like, yeah, I had my, uncertainties too, just because, like I said, I don't know what I don't know, right? And sometimes I'm just one of those type of guys that just try to always be a few steps ahead, right? So if I'm looking, I'm like, man, it's Tuesday and nobody's booked yet, right, for the weekend or whatever the case. And then sure enough, come Wednesday, somebody's like, yeah, I'm here. I want to be here from Thursday to Monday. I'm like, oh man, okay. So, and like I said, I've been booked every weekend, man, at least, from Thursday to Sunday, or they might come Friday to Sunday, Thursday to Monday, whatever the case, right? And so I haven't really had too much of the struggling, kind of doing that. It's all in my head, just thinking like, man, I need to make sure that these, they're booking. But with the strategy, us meeting weekly and setting up, what the market's doing, see if we can be competitive, kind of do comparisons to different properties, roughly around the same size and bedroom count, all that good stuff. So it definitely makes the guessing game. It takes all that out of there, man. So yeah, it's you become really analytical when you start to kind of think about like, okay, this and these are the events that are coming in, and okay, if this person is booking for X amount and whatever. So it definitely it makes life a lot more easier to do it that way.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for. Make life easy. So, yeah, if you follow the plan, literally, it's always going to work out. And I try to tell people that all the time, and it always does. So, yeah, you just got to, stay course and, make the small tweaks here and there every week, and it'll work out. So,
Yeah.
awesome, man. Let's get into a little bit more, a more fun question. So, what's the craziest thing that you've seen so far with Airbnb? It could be guests, it could be messages, it could be whatever comes to mind.
Well, I think we were talking earlier. So currently, I got the 2 month booking, right? So they're athletes. So I think they travel, kind of all over the place. And there was a stationary bike in the, one of those,
Yeah.
racing style bikes. It's probably a couple of thousand. So it tripped me out that they travel from state to state doing these competitions, and they carry this, couple $1,000 stationary bike that they just kind of put in the living room. So if they need to get a quick workout in or warm up or whatever, I don't know what they use it for. I didn't ask, but I did see them, bring it in. So I thought that was a little odd, but obviously they're athletes, so it makes sense. Now, if it was just a regular person bringing in that, then I would say, oh man, they're trying to move in all the way. I would say that's probably about it, man. So far, I haven't really experienced anything, out of the norm.
Yeah, nothing too crazy. What about as far as like guest profile? Because I think we talked. You had a bunch of people coming into golf in Phoenix, like
Oh yeah.
a gentleman coming into golf and concert goers, athletes. I guess what does that guest profile typically look like?
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. It's kind of crazy because as you start to look at their profiles, you see where they come from, and you conversate with them back and forth, and then you kind of almost feel like you know them in a sense, right? Because you're communicating with them, everything's respectful.
Yep.
They want a service. I'm trying to provide a service, right? Then when they leave, it's kind of like bittersweet, like, oh man, they left, and it kind of sucks. And I got a bit of a relationship with a new person, and so it's a revolving door when it comes to building those relationships each time. So I think that's cool. The one that I really enjoyed was there was a group of brothers, older gentlemen. One was from the Netherlands. his brothers lived in California, some of them. So they come to Phoenix annually for a golf trip. So every year they'll come to Phoenix and then they'll just play golf for the week. So, it's kind of seeing them how they were interacting. I got some cameras on the outside, and they were just chipping and playing golf, like whatever game they were playing. I thought the interaction between their brothers in their older age, man, was pretty wholesome. So I thought that was actually really, really cool. So I was like, man, I definitely told him that in the reviews, like, seeing you guys interact like that. I hope that as I get older, none of my brothers play golf, but once we get older, if we can have that same camaraderie and the same bond, that was cool.
That's super dope. Yeah, you see families travel together, Netherlands and California, and meet in Phoenix. I think after that, we even added the golfing piece to your marketing, your listing too, just to start attracting more golfers. So.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Cool, man. Well, so I guess what are your goals for 2026? What are we doing in Hawaii? What's the plan? What are your thoughts there?
Right now, I'm talking to a broker as far as like seeing what it's going to take to purchase the condo out there, and once we kind of get the numbers where I need them to be, pre-approval is already good to go. I just want to make sure that I fine-tune the loan to make sure I can be profitable, and then it's just looking for a real estate agent that specializes in short-term rentals. Yeah. And that can kind of negotiate some stuff for me, and then pull the trigger. So I'm hoping February, March, be hopeful. Give me a reason to go to Hawaii, right? So that's definitely one. And then I think
what island are you guys looking at?
Kauai.
Kauai. Okay.
Yeah, Kauai. Yeah. So man, we enjoyed it out there, and the place that we stayed at was awesome, and so they have those for sale in the area. So I just figured let's do that, and we could bring the family back out and do it again, and anytime we want, for the most part. Yep. Book a date and just go stay. But yeah, I mean, I think maybe sometime summerish, I'll look if once that one goes through and I have it kind of scored away, 3 or 4 months, maybe around summer, late summer, early fall, probably look for another arbitrage unit. So
okay, that's awesome, man. So buy a condo in Kauai and then scale arbitrage here back in the States and just keep building.
Yep. For the most part, I was looking at some spots out in like the Philippines, maybe Mexico. I'm trying to think a little bit bigger, but I like I said, I don't know what I don't know, so I'll have to do a little bit more research on that and kind of figure that piece out later. But that's probably down the road.
Yeah, no, I like Mexico City. Like, it's a cultural wave. Like right now, they just got Michelin star. They just, I think, get the first few restaurants Michelin stars out of Mexico City, and just the whole vibe there. It's like super vibrant. So I think that'd be a good location. And then so many of the beach towns too. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a lot of opportunity there. Bruno, well, congratulations, man. You had so much success launching your Airbnb Arbitrage in Phoenix, Arizona. Just got a 2-month booking, a massive booking with an athlete team there in the area. So I guess for anyone watching that's been on the fence about joining my program, or maybe just getting a coach, or just launching their very first Airbnb, they've been thinking about it for maybe a year or two, but they've literally been on the sideline. I guess what would you tell somebody that was in that situation? You were just in it about a year ago. It's on the fence about joining and getting started.
Yeah, I would just say, the law, and I tell people this all the time for just anything, right? The more you sit and contemplate on it, the more time just passes, because it doesn't wait. And so, like I said, I was a few months before you reached out to me, and had I started back then, I don't know where we'd be, but it could have been, I could have been where I'm at now, a year ago or whatever the case. So it's definitely, it seems scary, but at the end of the day, like, Josh is there to hold your hand through the entire step. You got questions, call, text, email, right? You're on the weekly call anyways. I got questions all the time still. I'm like, hey, this is my first situation. What I do here? What do you recommend, right? And you've always been available. So to anybody that wants to do it, just do it. It's really that simple. The difference between you and somebody, sitting on the couch saying that they're going to do it is actually doing it, So you won't be disappointed, I promise you, and you'll have fun. You'll have fun doing it.
Yeah.
So just do it.
Yeah, no, thank you. Like Nike, right? Just do it. So, yeah, and it's a fun business. At the end of the day, it's hospitality. It's not stressful. It's
Yeah.
it's super easy, super chill. Just take good care of the guests, and they'll take care of you. So, guys, I hope this video was a blessing. We do have an Airbnb coaching program. You can literally click the link down below to book a call with us, but we don't want to work with just anybody. Bruno was literally the perfect client. Came in, paid in full, got straight to work. We built his business, built his funding, found a beautiful property in Phoenix, Arizona, and is now hosting guests and going to expand to Hawaii. So, again, if you're interested in building a luxury hospitality business with purpose and legacy as the driving force, go ahead and click the link down below. Bruno, any last things you want to say, and where can they find you on social media?
Instagram, Bruno.Lopez909. That's my handle. But to you, Josh, man, I appreciate you. Definitely helped me out with this situation, kind of allowing me to form my business and to be profitable and to have fun, man, to be honest, and I'm inspiring, even some of my friends are like, oh, when I'm ready, I'm gonna hit you up. And I'm like, cool, let's do it. Like, let's form something, let's build something, so I appreciate you for giving me the opportunity, even as a client, right? You giving me the opportunity to work with me to help me out for not just myself, but for my family, for my legacy. So I appreciate you, man.
No, of course, man. I'm here for you. I appreciate you. It's been super fun. Really just a blessing working together. And I'm excited for the future to see what you do in 2026.